Fit Family Podcast presents part 3 of my fitness series entitled Form and Function. Hey, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are my personal it couple. I just think their story is awesome. I'm praying they make it. I don't know if they're engaged. I don't know if they're taking it to the next level, but they're amazing and I really like following them. And they represent what I think is the pinnacle of fitness. And it has the two categories that a lot of clients use as a goal, both form and function. Let's face it, Travis Kelce plays a sport that is considered by many to be the most physically demanding sport. Well, actually, hockey players would probably have a little bit of an argument, but I rank football as the top as far as physically demanding and the biggest risk of injury. I give an example. We allowed our boys, to play hockey if they wanted. One did, one didn't. But we didn't allow either of our boys to play football because I have never trained a football player that just wasn't physically jacked up. Even going back to high school, and they're, in their 30s or 40s sometimes, and they're still dealing with high school football injuries. So I digress. Travis Kelce plays a very demanding and physically dangerous sport. And he maintains a relatively, I hope I'm not, jinxing him, high level of fitness. And he maintains, I think, a healthy and fit lifestyle. DJ Watt was a beast when he played in the NFL. I think he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame, but he's a former NFL star. And he went to a Taylor Swift concert with his wife and a few of her friends. And he said the physicality of a Taylor Swift concert rivaled any sport he's ever seen or played. And I think when DJ Watt gives you a compliment on how physical or how physically demanding what you do is, you've got to pay attention to it. And by the way, I agree. I've seen bits and pieces of her Eras tour online and found it very entertaining, but gosh, it's hours long, wardrobe changes, stunts. She's on all sorts of equipment, including water. So I just think her physically demanding career makes it as hard as any athlete out there. So Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, both physically demanding jobs. I think they both lead a healthy lifestyle. From what I know, again, I do not follow the stars outside of what's known in common social media or on the news, and which is why I love the couple. Maybe I love them because I don't know about them, in detail, but they seem to be relatively healthy, and they're obviously in physical demanding careers. So my point is, they are the pinnacle. So that's what I consider the goal. All right. The ultimate goal is to have form and function. And I think they're also fashion trendsetters. I have a younger son. He's 18 and he's the fashionista in our house. He's always matching his outfits and he always looks like he's on his way to the country club to play tennis or when he's on his way to school. So he's still in high school. He's finishing up. He's a senior. But it's just cool the way he does his outfits. I dress in black. And a lot of times you may think I, have a habit on or something because as I, look at my little reflection here, my shirt matches my chair. So I guess I didn't think about that when I was doing my set design. But again, I digress. In my last podcast, I talked about setting goals, right? You can't hit a goal that you don't set. Well, in my 30-year career, clients have set fitness goals in usually two categories, form and function. I will explain both in this podcast, and I will also explain how you, the listener or the viewer, if you're watching this on YouTube, can obtain a lot of the goals that I'm going to mention. And if you want to kind of take it to the next level, I will always mention finding someone like me or finding me. You may think, hey, you must be really lousy in sales. Why are you sending people other people? The reason is I've trained 60 to 100 clients most of my career. Okay, so I live in a city Atlanta, Georgia, that has 8.5 million people in this state. And now that I can train virtually, literally I have a worldwide audience wherever I can reach them. But folks, I'm only going to be able to help a very, very, very small percentage of those people. But I can send a message that can be duplicated through a podcast, through a video, through a social media post that can be viewed many times and many times after I'm gone. And that message is, if you exercise and exercise proper and balanced nutrition, barring disease or a failure of one of your body parts, like I have a bad thyroid, so I have to take a medication for that. But barring that, your health will improve. And I know it's true because as long as you're a human being, that'll be true. And no one's ever disproved that in my 30-year career. So again, going down the wrong rabbit hole, going back to your goal setting, form and function. Let's start with form, okay? Form is a look. I remember back in the 90s, I was part of these videos, and, that was back in the days when they had buns of steel or six-pack abs. And, if you're not old enough to remember those videos, look at a cologne ad. It'll have some guy firing an arrow, and he's got an incredible six-pack and a great body. And don't even get me started on female sexuality selling products. Hello, Victoria's Secret. But it's been used throughout, all the television and movies. And I mean, half the movies I have been dragged to by my wife is because The Rock or whoever that Hemsworth guy is, the guy that plays Thor, because they're in the movie, I have to go watch the movie. Now, I do end up enjoying the movies, but let me tell you, it's the eye candy for my wife, and 9 times out of 10, that's why we're there. But if you want to obtain a form goal, let me tell you, you have to do several things to get those to happen. First of all, it has to be a nutritional thing, okay? 99 times out of 100, I will have a client through our relationship will say, I want to lose weight. I've only had a very small percentage of clients over my career that have wanted to actually gain weight. And that was early on in my career when I trained a lot of muscle heads that wanted to, get beefed up and get guns for the gun show and actually wanted to get, bigger and stronger. But again, today, most of my clients want to lose weight, look better, feel better, and fit into clothes sometimes that they have bought maybe 10 years ago. And one of the things I've used as a marketing tool is the fact that I'm the same weight now, 210, as I was back in the mid-'80s when I graduated from college. And it's not bragging, it's showing you that the process works, okay? If you want to lose weight, I've got one word that'll make it happen. You ready? You leaning in? Math. Math. It will always work if you burn more calories than you take in and that you eat a smart and healthy diet. Some people find plant-based. Some people find their low carb, high protein. Some people find a balance of all three. But let's face it, if you take in regularly more calories than you burn off, over time, your weight will increase. And I can prove it, okay? I can prove it easily. I did an interview one time, and they actually edited this out. But I want you to visualize a prisoner of war, okay, that's been a prisoner of war for maybe a number of years, okay? Get that image in your head, all right? Now, whether it's male or female, is that image in your head of someone who's morbidly obese or overweight? I think if you were honest, you would have to say no. Most people, when they think of a prisoner of war, they think of someone who's emaciated, a lot of times because they're starved. And then in a lot of prisoner of war situations, like the famous female basketball player that was held, in Russia for some, ridiculous charge. And she was in a penal colony, in a work colony. So she had to work every day in addition to not receiving proper nutrition. But most of the time, if you're starved and worked, you're going to become lighter, smaller, and more emaciated and just look not healthy and not good. So you'll never hear me recommend a diet. As a matter of fact, it drives me bananas whenever another diet hits the market, because there's a reason the word diet isn't diet. It's ridiculous. It's simply math, reducing your calories, increasing your burn off. Now, there are two things I'm going to mention that are going to change whether or not that is effective. Okay. One thing is, I'm assuming you're not diseased in any way, because there are a lot of diseases that cause you to have to take a medication. You know, sometimes it's steroids, sometimes it's other medications. The medications may cause you to gain weight or get bloated or something like that. And like I mentioned earlier, I have a thyroid issue. Thyroid can affect your weight. It can cause you to be lose weight or to gain weight, depending on whether it's hypo or hyperthyroid. And I am now on medication to try to get my thyroid to balance out. It's a disease called Hashimoto's. So I'm going to assume disease is not an issue, okay? And I'm going to assume all the body parts are functioning properly. For example, my thyroid is an issue. So I would have to take that in consideration, and I do take that into consideration when I train, especially because of the medication that I take because of that. And full disclosure, I also take another medication for my high cholesterol, which is just genetic. I love when I was actually, my doctor said, well, Robert, your cholesterol is too high. I'm gonna recommend a statin. I'm like, well, I'm a professional trainer, doc. I can get that down. He goes, okay, I tell you what, between now and our checkup where we're going to draw some more blood, let's you try to lower your cholesterol as best you can. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I trained like a beast. I ate an immaculate diet. I was on point. I looked fantastic. My cholesterol went down 1. Let me repeat. It went down 1 point. So I gave up. I got on a statin. My cholesterol went down, like 20 or 30 points initially. And now it's in a healthy range. And I stay on the statin, even though it's an extremely low dosage, to keep my cholesterol within that healthy range. So I could not train my way out of my cholesterol issues. So I'm going to assume no disease and all your body parts are working within a way that maybe a medication can control the issue and the training can actually get the result that we want. Okay? So there's another example that I was given by a presenter that presented at a conference I was at. She mentioned that, she had a dog that was overweight, and she took the dog to the vet, and the dog's like, hey, instead of just leaving food in the bowl, only feed your dog at a certain time, remove the excess food until it's feeding time again, and instead of just letting your dog go through the dog door and back in when it has to go out, take it for walks, get it more exercise. And this presenter said, at no time did they tell the dog to go on ketosis. And at least initially, I don't think they have dogs on Ozempic. So folks, these crazy ass diets, this whole Ozempic craze, and you may be pushing back like, hey, Robert, Ozempic helps a lot of, morbidly obese people lose weight. Okay, if your life is in danger and your doctor says, hey, this is a medication that we're going to use as a last resort because you, for some reason, have not been able to lose the weight. Okay, I'm not going to go against, medical advice for a client. But I'm telling you, people that are doing it for cosmetic reasons and because they're just, to be blunt, they're too damn lazy to do it the right way, okay? Which is to exercise and to eat better. And if they're doing that in addition to the Ozempic, okay, maybe I can get on board. But I'm thinking it's a shortcut for a lot of people. And I'm telling you what, and I don't have anything to back this up yet, but I'm going to bring this up later in a future podcast where I'm going to talk about all sorts of fad diets and crap that's been on the market over the years. I guarantee you there's going to be a price to be paid physically for all those people that are on Ozempic, to get to a certain look that they want or to lose weight when they haven't done everything they can on the exercise and nutrition front. There's going to be a price to be paid, and that data may already be out there, and I don't know about it. But I'm telling you, we're going to revisit this again as a topic of discussion. And I hope I'm able to maybe interview somebody who's an expert in that area, where I can just go toe to toe and just put up my exercise and nutrition approach, as opposed to big pharma, trying to take over the fitness industry. Good luck with that. Another way I can tell you that it works is, over my 30-year career, I've had several clients come to me and, Robert, you see me in your classes, you train me 3 times a week. Why am I not? Hey, wait a second. Let's get you to your doctor, get a physical exam. Let's figure out what's going on. Get some blood drawn. I always recommend people, when they're starting a fitness program, get a checkup, okay? Get everything checked out, because that's going to tell me that there isn't a physical problem. There isn't a need for medication. Or if you're on a medication, it's not going to get in my way. So she had a checkup. Like me, she had a thyroid issue. It took them about 30 days to get her medication squared away to where it wasn't too high, wasn't too low. After that, her weight started to come down in small increments, and we were able to get her to a lot of the fitness goals that she had set with me. And that initial frustration was removed. So let me tell you, that's a big, big, big part of what you need to do, is to exercise and eat right. Now, let me bring up 2 bullet points before you push back. You cannot spot reduce body fat. Let me repeat that. You cannot spot reduce body fat. In other words, just generally speaking, women generally melt. They lose weight in their face, their chest, their back, their hips and thighs are last. The fat normally is lost almost like blood draining out of a body if you're standing up. So that's generally speaking. There are people that are different body types, and I realize genetics plays a role in your training. So that's something that's to be considered. And you can target strength training to a specific muscle or area. For example, I've had guys that come in, hey, Rob, I want to tone up my arms for the gun show. And, they want their arms developed. Well, we can do more arm exercises than maybe back exercises or leg exercises. And we can really, put the oil on that squeak, if you will. We can really try to promote tonality and building in that area of the body. So you cannot spot reduce body fat. You can target strength training to a certain muscle group or area and really help to strengthen that area, which I think yields a great cosmetic look. And on the body fat issue, I found that for men, we generally, and I'm circling my torso, okay, from the hips all the way to the shoulders, we typically retain our fat in our thorax. And our arms and our legs get really lean, our face can get lean, and we can still have love handles and belly fat. That seems to be the last to go. With women, it's usually lower abs, hips, and thighs is usually the last fat to go. And I don't know why it's designed that way, but it seems like that's the first place that the fat goes back on. But, I always put out, and it's printed behind me, results start when you do. I often get the question, hey, Robert, when are the results going to happen? I go, when are the workouts going to happen? When are you going to stop eating fast food? When are you going to stop taking in, Starbucks drinks that are almost 1,000 calories? So I'm going to approach exercise and nutrition, and as soon as the client does, the results start. So it always starts and ends with you, right? So again, genetics does play a role. For example, I'm 6 feet tall. I have a 30-inch inseam. So if you do the math, I have the legs of an Oompa Loompa, okay? For you people that don't know anything about the Wizard of Oz, okay, very short people, and I have short legs. So no matter how lean I get, my legs will never be long and lean and like basketball players' legs, because they can jump, and you normally don't see very overweight basketball players, especially at the professional level, even at the collegiate level a lot of times, unless they're the big guys in the paint. So I have to work with my short legs. It's a genetic thing. I can go with it because I've been given so many other blessings like 63 years of relatively good health. So I'll take that any day of the week. But you determine your goals. You accept my help or the help of someone like me. Again, I'm only going to help a small amount of people percentage wise before they put me in the ground and eat potato salad. In other words, till I'm no longer doing this for a living or I'm no longer here. But you can find someone that has the same certification as I do that will safely train you, that will give you the practical approach of exercise and proper nutrition. But guess what? You have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to exercise. You have to watch what goes into your face and eating like you want your health to improve and not just to eliminate hunger and not just taking any temptation that comes around. You know, you go to the break room and somebody's brought in donuts and you're like, oh, there goes my diet for the week. No, you just don't have any donuts. Okay. You have to be the one that does the work. But let me tell you, the reason I love my profession, you do all the work, I take all the credit. Okay. That's the fun part of my job. So definitely on the form end, that's what you have to do. And yes, genetics. Yes, if you have a disease. Yes, if you have a body part like my thyroid that's not cooperating, or you have genetically high cholesterol like I do. Yes, is it something you have to overcome? Sure. But let me tell you, I'm 63 years old. I wake up pain-free. And the first thing I do is hit my knees and say thank you to my Lord and Savior because I'm allowed to be healthy. I've been blessed with good health. And that's not something, yes, I can do things to help that. But there are people I've known that have died of cancer. There are people that I know that wake up with arthritic conditions. Okay? There may be a time when I have one of those afflictions. But so far in 63 years, that hasn't been the case. So if you're one of those people that you wake up, you're pain-free, and as my mother used to say, you're in your right mind, give thanks. Give thanks, get up, and get to work to make sure that you take that blessing of good health and you move it forward. In other words, you give your body good nutrition. You give your body regular exercise. You get your body out in the sunlight so it can go with the normal rhythm of the earth and you're not just inside synthetic lighting, 12 to 15 hours a day. Okay? So that's what we're going to do on the form end. And again, 99.9% of the times, weight loss is part of it. And what's the one word? Math. If you take in more calories than you burn off, over time, eventually you will gain weight. And, again, going back to that Ozempic and all that other crap that's out there, come on, folks, let's face it. You can get on heroin, you can get on cocaine and lose weight. The ends does not justify the means. And am I putting Ozempic in the same category as cocaine and heroin? No. But my point is, just because it causes weight loss doesn't mean it's good. Okay? And I'm praying I'm going to have a lot of data backing me up on that Ozempic. That just is absolutely pissing me off that people are turning to big pharma to do something that I've been doing for 30 years with people, and I know it works. How do I know it works? Because I'm the same weight I was 40 years ago. Come on, folks. It works. Now, enough digression, enough preaching. Let's move on to function, okay? It's when you want to look better and perform better, right? You want to beat that person from your office in tennis. You want to go play golf and not have your back racked with pain. It seems like every golfer I train has a bad back. I can't imagine because they're wrenching their spine for 4 hours one day a week. But if I can help you, it's because you are human, okay? In other words, if you go out and do things to make your back sore and your back is sore, you should expect it. But if you do things to strengthen your back and we do conditioning to make your back stronger, then when you go out and play golf, you shouldn't have back pain. and we can maybe work on your flexibility or certain things to keep you from having the pain associated with your sport. It can be something as simple as bowling. I have clients that are into bowling and, they bowl a couple of times a week. And let me tell you, every time I go bowling, it doesn't seem to be easy. And I consider myself in shape, that bowing and scraping and getting down and getting that ball delivered the right way. So again, now I'm 63. So if I think bowling is hard, you have to take my age into consideration. But there's a formula I use when I train, and there are 4 components to the formula. And it's been put different ways depending on the source that you use, depending on the, like if you go to American Council on Exercise or American College of Sports Medicine or, International Strength and Sports Association or whatever certification you use, this national or international, it may be worded differently. I try to word it so it's catchy. FITT, fit. Frequency, intensity, time, and type of exercise. Some people will say FIVT for, frequency, intensity, volume, okay? And they may measure your respiratory volume, or a lot of times people will do heart rate-based training, and of course, the type of exercise that you're doing. So to make it catchy, I'm going to use FIT, okay? But realize that depending on how you search this formula, you'll find it in different formats using different words. But the categories, I think, will match up. All right? So let's think of fit. To make you fit from a functional standpoint, F is frequency. It's how often you train. Okay? You can't just train one time, a year and get in shape. Well, you'd be surprised how many people think they can train with me once a week and actually move the needle on their fitness goals. It normally doesn't happen. So think about, you want the ratio in your favor. You want more days on than you have off. And that's not necessarily training with a trainer, but it can include cardio. So to me, 4 is a magic number on this. The reason being, there are 7 days in a week. So if you train with me a couple of days a week, or you train with a trainer a couple of days a week, they may do an upper lower. They may do a push pull. And I'll explain these training methodologies later. But the point is, they do that a couple of days a week. And a couple of days a week, they may do mountain biking. They may walk. They may do a walk jog combination like the Galloway running school teaches. But they get out and get their cardiovascular done. They can do a Peloton ride, or a Peloton walk if they have a treadmill. But the main thing is, they're doing cardio a couple of days a week. Now they're exercising 4 days a week, and they may take 3 days off. That puts the ratio in my favor. In other words, you're exercising more days than you're taking off. And this is the typical client that's not working out at all when they come to me, which most of the clients that come to me are at a frustration point where they've tried to exercise and either didn't do it properly and got injured, or they went to a format that injured them. For example, all the knuckleheads that go to CrossFit, okay? 30 years ago, I probably would have owned a CrossFit, to be fair. But I think a training methodology that sooner or later injures their client, I'm just not going to endorse it, okay? You know what I think? I think not injuring any of your clients is a good training methodology. Now, does that mean my exercises sometimes get, repetitious, and sometimes I keep it at a certain level and don't go up because I haven't recommended they buy more equipment for their home, or I'm trying to make the training affordable, or they can't get to my studio, so I'm having them do whatever exercises they're limited by their home equipment? Yes, but I'd rather have safe, effective training at a certain level than try to push them to do like one-arm push-ups or some nonsense like that and have them get injured, especially when I'm not right in their home where I can put hands on them to position them a certain way or to make sure that they're not hurting themselves. And hands or eyes, I think there are tasteful ways to position someone when they're doing their exercises, and I think there are ways to watch your client. And if you're in a CrossFit situation where there are 20 people in the room and maybe one or two instructors, you just don't have enough eyes to put eyes and to professionally position the people so that they're not injuring themselves. And all it takes is one bad deadlift or throwing a weight over your shoulder that, that's too heavy or not done properly to get an injury. So again, I think the best injury is no injury. So frequency of training. I often recommend to my clients 2 to 3 days a week. If someone's training with me 1 day a week, it's better than nothing. But let's face it, I'm not going to be able to move the needle toward any of their fitness goals with one training session a week unless they're doing an unbelievable job with their nutrition and their cardio outside of our training session. And to be honest, the people that are doing that aren't usually seeking out my training services. All right, so that's F. The I is intensity, how hard you train. Again, I have people that come to me and I know it's going to be a cheerleading session. I'm going to be like, come on, let's go. Let's get the energy up. Let's get moving. And, they're taking a water break after every set and they're, barely lifting the weight and they're it's just like going through mud to get these people to get through the exercise. And I will pull out my pom-poms and figuratively, not literally, but I will cheer you on. I will try to get you through that mud and get you on the other side of that workout because I know the more workouts you get, the better shape you're going to get in. And that mud's going to get a lot thinner. And sooner or later, it's not like going through mud. You're going to be able to get those exercises done and get more exercises done throughout the time that we have together. So intensity. A lot of times I'm limited by injury. I'm limited by the age of the client. I'm limited sometimes by the goal. Again, some clients are coming to me because they've never done exercise before. They may be in their 30s or 40s and they never played sports, they never exercised, but their doctor has said, look, you've got to do some form of exercise. So they want to make sure they're in a professional setting. And I have to be very cautious. And we start out pretty slow and at a pretty low intensity level. So frequency, again, 2 or 3 days with a trainer, 2 or 3 days doing cardio, depending on the balance. Like if you're doing 2 days with a trainer, I'm going to recommend 2 days of cardio. 3 days with a trainer. If you're doing 1 or 2 cardio days, it puts you up to 4 or 5. Again, 4 or 5 days on a week, only a couple off. The ratio's in my favor. I think I have a better chance of getting your goal. The first T is time. So it's how much time you're spending. And, funny story, when I was trying to determine the best interval on the time, when I first started, I did hour sessions. This is what I did when I was in the public gym. But in the public gym, I had to work around a gym population. It normally took a lot of time to set up exercises. And, the first couple of minutes was a hello and, getting the first exercise set up. And, over an hour, we got maybe, 10, 12 exercises done. Well, let me tell you, in a private setting that I train in now, or if I'm doing virtually someone's, in their home gym, well, we can move through at a pretty good clip. So training an hour, I had people that were physically getting ill, that were just so burnt out from one session. They were like, look, Robert, I don't think I can take 2 sessions with you a week. Because this happened a lot of times when I trained in-home, in person back in the day before virtual training was a big thing. So, excuse me. So I want to make sure that they're spending the adequate amount of time. I tried an hour, it was too long. I tried 30 minutes. I didn't even have time to say hello. It's like, okay, we got to get to work. And 30 minutes seems to fly by. So I have settled on 45 minutes as my perfect training interval. And I do allow my clients to, come in early or stay late if they need to warm up or cool down and stretch. And I recommend that even in my virtual sessions. Hey, try to get a walk in, try to get some type of warm up in before we meet. The last T will be the type of exercise. A lot of times the type of exercise will determine the intensity. So all of these are related. Again, if people are training with me twice a week, that gives me another day on frequency so I can do an upper lower, a push pull. I don't have to do all the muscle groups in one day. And if they're like, oh, I just want to do exercise to flatten my stomach. Well, remember, you can't spot reduce the fat burn. So we can make your stomach, your abs, I say your stomach, that's improper terminology, your abdominal muscles, make them really strong and they're covered up by fat. So until you get the proper nutrition and the regular cardio, the nice toned abdominal muscles that we're working in our training session aren't going to be visible. So I want to make sure that we're understanding all these four variables work together: frequency, intensity, time, and type. If you remove one, the formula is a bust, because if I can't change the type of exercise, I have a hard time manipulating the intensity, which means we can't move you toward your fitness goals. So those four variables have to be in place for function. So you have form and function. Remember, form, 99 times out of 100, you have to worry about that weight. And there are so many components to weight loss. With function, I have to worry about safety. I have to worry about whether it's virtual or in person, whether I have $40,000 worth of equipment like I do at my studio, or maybe $400 of equipment at the client's home. So all these variables have to be balanced. So sometimes people will get the form part of their goal. They'll, lose the weight. Sometimes they'll get the function. Hey, Robert, I was able to play a full 18 holes of golf. My back didn't hurt. I actually drove the ball well and felt great. I walked the whole course, and that's great news. But again, I have a hard time getting both the goals in both those two categories. So how do you do that? Well, all you do is choose, okay, where am I going to get my instruction? I'm a big fan of the Peloton. I hope that company makes it. But the Peloton training series that they have, where people go for walks, they have, series where they pay for the program to come through those big screens on their equipment. And they have all sorts of things, toning and yoga and stretching. And I think that's fantastic. So if your instruction comes from something like that, I think that's awesome. I love eyeball. I can tell when my client walks through the door, oh, they look like they're not having a good day, or they look kind of low energy. Or even when I see clients virtually, with the way the technology is now, I can see a lot of the issues. Their whole physicality is, I had this discussion with my kids and it didn't go well and their grades are not doing well. And, if you don't think a parent's relationship with their kids affects their workout, it does. So these are things that personal training, interactive training between you and a trainer or between you and a registered dietitian will make a difference, as opposed to, again, something like a Peloton or Nordic Track that has programming coming through a screen that's preset. It doesn't care if you're in a good mood. It's going to give you the same instruction either way. Then you have to determine, when do I go to the next level? How do I know what intensity level to be at? So that's why I promote either myself or someone like me to help you. But folks, it comes down to you. You have to decide, I want to improve my health. I want to do it in a smart way, and I want to do it in a way where I can do it for the rest of my life, and I'm not dependent on big pharma to sell me a drug to get it done. I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to eat properly. It's just a matter of what source of information am I going to do to make this happen. I pray you choose me or someone like me to get you going and to get you on the right path towards your health and physical fitness. But folks, we've got other topics coming up for Fit Family Podcast, and you can always reach me at robertdouther.com to give me ideas about what you want to hear, and also how I can help you improve your health and physical fitness. But it's my prayer that you start and make 2025 the healthiest, most active year of your life so far. So if you're going to do it, say yes. I just heard you say yes, so I know you're going to get it done. But